Yeah,
some athletic
that's
competition.
great. Good stuff, man. I haven't been back since college. I gotta get back there. But anyway, all right, why don't we get cranking? I am so fired up for today, man. This is my old college friend Pete Larsen, who was just extremely kind to be able to come on today and carve out some time for you guys. So, Pete, these are all transitioning military veterans. So they are typically in their last 3 months of their active duty service, and now they're getting ready for their next act, which is corporate America. So we bring in folks like you from all different industries to just share some insights, feedback, tell a little bit about your story. So this is going to be super valuable to them. So I thank you again for coming on, man. So Pete, so for the last roughly 19 years, um, Pete has been a VP in upper management at one of the highest performing organizations on the planet. You guys know them as Amazon. He leads global strategy, P&L management, and operational execution for Amazon's multi-channel fulfillment and buy with Prime business units. So Pete, thank you, buddy, for coming on, man. We appreciate you.
I am super happy to be here, everybody. Excited to be a part of this.
Do you have any connection to the military? Any relatives or
My father was in the Navy. My father
nice?
was a CB, if you guys know what that is.
They do. Yeah.
He's a structural engineer for his career. He
Yeah.
is passed now, but that's my primary connection.
That's good. You're like me. My dad served as well, but I didn't. So very cool. So tell everyone a little bit about the start. You finished school. I know you went to Cornell for grad school, but and you had some interesting initial experiences there. You worked, did you do a stint at Apple? And then
Yeah,
ran your
yeah,
own business as CEO of the mobile ad company. So tell everyone a little bit about
yeah.
starting out.
Yeah, I'll try to whiz through it. So after Wisconsin with Jordy and Co., I made my way over to Japan, and I lived there for 5 years and worked at a startup over there in sales, doing technology sales. Then after that, I went back to Cornell and got my MBA. And then I went out to Silicon Valley, which is always my dream, and I worked at Apple. I was a product manager for PowerBooks. I
Oh
don't know
my
what sort
gosh.
of age we have here on the call, but
Power books.
laptops, basically Apple's first laptops. Then after that, I went to a an interactive TV software startup in Silicon Valley. That went public in the crazy units of 2000. And then I moved over to London and I lived over there for 8 or 9 years. And over there, I hooked up with a buddy from grad school and we started a company that was doing interactive advertising. Very start of that. I became CEO of that. Then I got fired. Then we sold it to Nokia in 2007. And in 2008, some of the same people I worked with at Apple called and said, "Hey, we're at Amazon and we're working on this new device. We can't tell you what it is, but we're pretty sure that you're going to want to be in on it." And that turned out to be the Kindle. And so I joined Amazon in 2008 or so. And I moved from London to Seattle, where I've been ever since. And I've had three arcs in Amazon. The first arc is I was part of the founding team of Amazon devices. So launched the first Kindle and the first Fire TV and lots of stuff like that. And then the second stint, I moved over to operations, supply chain, and I was part of the team that basically built our own middle and last mile transportation networks. For about 20 years, we had outsourced those things to UPS and to DHL and to others, but we wanted to build our own. And my last job there is I ran our freight network across the world. And for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been leading a team that is externalizing Amazon's supply chain services. So all the stuff we built for ourselves over the past 20 years, we're now making available for companies to use to grow their own business outside of Amazon.com. So we're just like UPS, for example. And so I lead a business there, and my job is I am sort of a mini CEO within Amazon. All of the functions report into me, and it's the closest thing I can get to sort of my own thing within a corporate borg. Uh, I report to the CEO of Amazon stores, and in general, having a blast. And then, newsflash, today is my first day of a 3 month sabbatical.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh, that's awesome.
yeah, so I am kicking it off with you guys here, and am doing my snow dance. I would like you all to do a snow dance as well, so I could go chase some powder on my skis.
Nice. Where are you gonna do that?
Well, theoretically, next week I'm going out to Big Sky, Montana.
Yeah.
If it ever snows again.
Yeah.
And then I got a bunch of Minnesota bros, all my high school buddies. We go on a ski trip every year, but this year they're going to come out to Washington. So
Wow.
hopefully, if there's snow out here, we're going to go to places out here.
That must be awesome because I follow what you do in your daily life, and it seems absolutely chaotic. You're in China or India, or you're all over the place. And
Yeah.
tell everyone a little bit about your day to day. Like, how many people do you manage? What are some of your bigger picture stuff that you have to worry about each day?
Well, let's see. So I manage a couple thousand people at Amazon, and that is, that's a large team anywhere else. But at Amazon, that's actually sort of a medium-sized team, believe it or not. And my days are filled with sort of usually three things, let's call it. The main job is making sure that the people who work for me are as productive as they can be. And so that looks like helping them when they encounter obstacles or blockers or need some help or some advice or some judgment, or sometimes they need a kick in the ass. All those things are true. So that's part of the job. And then part of the job is, I learned from Jeff Bezos, our founder, that at a certain level of seniority, your job is to make a couple high judgment decisions every day. And so I'm
Mhm.
at a lot of meetings all day, but I try to keep my mouth shut mostly. It's hard. But I try to basically weigh in like 1 or 2 times a day to help the team make a really, really good decision. And you got to get comfortable with that's a good day when you're sort of a little bit more senior. And then there's almost always something that I'm personally interested in or that is broken. And that's where I deep dive, and I'm, much more closely involved with what's going on the team. And I do that. Those are three things. And then there's the corporate bureaucracy. I spend time fending off.
Yeah, yeah. That's great, man. So not I imagine, over the years, you've worked with thousands of people and have seen the good and the bad. What are some of your favorite quality traits that you like to see in the people who work for you, or when you're hiring or promoting somebody? All these vets, they're heading off in all different directions, different career paths. But I think being able to hear from you, what are some of these things you value most in talent, I think could really help them.
Yep. Um, well, one thing is a person who can figure out what's important versus what's urgent is one of the most important things. Amazon is one of those places, and a lot of places are, of course, where we will ask you to do 120% of what you're capable of doing at any given point. Like I'm never going to stop asking for stuff. And I really value people who have got the discipline and the backbone to say, okay, Larson, out of the 100 things you've asked me to do, here are the three things that I think are actually the most important for the business. And I'm just going to focus on those and I'm going to knock those out of the park. And I'm going to go home and see my kids at 5, and like, if you don't like that, you can go pound sand. I appreciate those people, because if you don't sort of know how to manage your work life balance, and if you don't know how to prioritize the important over the urgent, you get burnt out and you end up doing 60 things in a halfway manner. And then you get angry because you're working really hard, but you're not really knocking anything out of the park, and you get mad at me, and then you attrit, and it's a mess.
Yeah, that's
That's
good.
a big one.
Yeah.
I could go on, but I see some questions out
Yeah,
there.
let's take some of these.
Yeah.
Meg, go ahead.
All right, so I have two questions. You said you live in Seattle. So who are you rooting for the Super Bowl, number one?
Who
Hats.
do you think?
Well, I hope it's this team right here. I'm just saying.
Sorry.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? Holy
It
smokes.
it really is. I'm from Tacoma originally,
Oh,
so
yeah, yeah.
gotta
Awesome.
root for my Hawks. But thank you for coming on today. I do have a real question outside of the Super Bowl. So my question is, when vets step into big companies like Amazon, what's the biggest shift they tend to struggle with, and how do we get them up to speed quicker?
Um, I, uh, 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 your question was, when vets join Amazon?
Yeah, when
Yeah,
vets join Amazon
yeah,
or any other big tech company, I
yeah,
think it would be similar.
yeah. I will say that I don't know, is what I would say. I could guess, of course, but I typically don't. Uh, I don't know when someone is a vet and when they're not a vet most of the time. And so I couldn't quite tell you. We do have sort of interest groups within Amazon. We've got I forgot what they call it. It's kind of a cool name. Where the vets get together, and someone like me is sort of an executive sponsor, but I am not involved in that, so I don't have a good signal on that. Sorry.
What about just a general worker joining your team? What are some of the things they
Well, so I talked about that a little bit before. A lot of people just who don't have the backbone and the discipline get snowed by the amount of work, and then they burn out and they attrit, and that I see that happen from time to time. Another thing that happens from time to time is you really and this is all stuff that you guys know, but and I would imagine this probably fits well with many of your backgrounds, is that the ability to embrace change and not freak out when things are changing all the time, every day, every week, like forever, is really, really valuable. Particularly in this day and age with AI coming through, like, you're either going to embrace it or you're not, and those who embrace it and are curious and lean into it will succeed, and those who don't won't. Now, with embracing change comes being okay with failure too. So that's a third thing that I really look for in people. If you're actually pushing the envelope, so to speak, you're going to fail a pretty high percentage of the time. And those people who can, what I call, fail well, do really, really well at Amazon. What I mean by fail well is that you don't wallow in the failure for too long. You can feel sorry for yourself for a day, but then you got to pick yourself back up and keep moving. But more importantly is to have the intention and the discipline to figure out exactly what went wrong and to fix that. We call it root cause analysis.
Mhm.
Fix that once so it gets fixed forever, so that somebody else doesn't have to deal with that failure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You learn from your failures. I feel like you do more than your successes a lot of the time.
Absolutely.
No
Thank
doubt.
you so much.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Meg. Jared, go ahead.
Hi, Peter. Jared here. Just want to say thank you for hanging out with us this morning and giving your wisdom to us. So we really appreciate it. Um, just say, kind of in the same along the lines for veterans and everything, or in general, if they start within Amazon or any other similar organization, let's say. What would you encourage them to like, let's say, focus on? Let's say like in for the first 90 days while they're in that company, how to like, build trust or, build credibility in a timely manner.
Yeah. Well, the first 90 days,
Yeah.
um,
Yes,
I
sorry.
yeah, I find that we're all pretty good at being vulnerable learning organisms for the first 2 weeks, and then our egos kick in, and we're like, you know what? I've been here 2 weeks. I know where the bathroom is. I feel like I should stop asking questions. And I find the people who succeed the most are the people who've got the backbone to be vulnerable for the full 90 days. Because there ain't no way that you're going to learn what you need to know in terms of your job at Amazon. And I don't care what job it is within a couple weeks. I tell people that at 6 months, so first of all, important context, we do a horrible job of onboarding people at Amazon. I mean, we're world class horrible. You basically get a job and we, shove you off the deck and we're like, good luck, let us know if you need help. And you know, that doesn't work that well for many people because these jobs are highly, highly complex, especially in operations, any of our jobs. And so I always tell people, hey, about 6 months, you're going to show up to your boss and you're going to be like, oh man, it's not working. I'm so sorry. I am not able to be effective. I I don't know how to get stuff done here. And just know that you are exactly on schedule. Like that is exactly what your boss thinks. It's going to take you about 6 months to get effective. And so those people who can sort of stay in the learn and be curious mode, as we call it here at Amazon, for longer than 2 weeks are usually the people that succeed.
That's a good answer. I like it. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Jeremy, go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Larsen.
Good morning.
So in the military, we have military postal system, and we also have run airports, do ramp watch, all of those things that Amazon does. How would somebody with that background fit into, say, the Amazon Air Hub in Wilmington, Ohio?
Yeah, really well. And that's because some of the fundamentals you've already got in your blood. And what I mean by fundamentals, it would be things like safety. And so if you already know your way around an air hub or you already know your way around an airplane and you understand how to be safe in those environments, that's jobs one, two, and three in any operations job at Amazon. And so you'll have a step ahead.
That's good, man. Good one. John, go ahead.
Hey, Peter, I just had a quick question. From your introduction, you've worked at a variety of really high-paced, fast-paced companies. And I was curious, what would you say are the most important skills to establish early on that were really critical for your growth within those companies, to establish yourself into these more leadership type roles, to effectively make yourself stand out and grow into these responsibility roles?
Yeah. Well, you got to work your ass off. And so, and the only way that you're going to work your tail off is if you really like what you're doing. So I've just had the great good benefit of like the light switched on for me at Madison. I had a internship at a software company and the lights just went on for me. I'm like, you know what? This is what I want to do. And so take it with a grain of salt, but I've been working my ass off for a long time, but it works out, it works okay for me because I actually like what I do. People are always like, Larson, why are you still working? You've been there 18 years. Your, your beard is getting grayer by the day. And I always say, it's because I like my job. Like I like the people I work with. I like the products I'm working on. It's not like I'm dragging myself into the office every day. And because of that, I work harder. And it's a very big like those people who work harder get ahead. That's all there is to it.
And I'm sure it's not, you still, I'm sure, have bad days like everyone, but it makes those bad days a little more bearable to get through when you just love your mission. You love it and you have a mission.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I do on those bad days, Jordy. This is just a little trick I do for myself that seems to work pretty well. Like if I'm getting burnt out, I say to myself, "Oh, I'm going to work a little less hard today. I'm just going to back off a little bit." And what happens is that somehow releases a psychological cloud over me. And of course, I actually don't work any less hard is probably the likely thing just because of who I am and the environment I'm in, but somehow it releases me psychologically and I feel much better about the day.
Yeah, good advice. Jody, go ahead.
Good morning, sir. Thanks for coming to speak with us. I was curious, when you look back over your careers, like what one decision or like risks felt like unsafe at the time and ended up benefiting you later on?
Well, so caveat that it's always easy to say in retrospect. So I get it. But I've always taken the approach of I want to jump off a cliff every 4 or 5 years. And so I always use the what I call the 75% um, rubric. So if I've learned about 75% of what I thought I was going to learn in a given job, and if I've done about 75% of what I said I was going to do, and if my team is about 75% of the way ready to take over for me, I know it's time to start looking for a new job. Um, uh, Especially at a place like Amazon, which actually encourages folks like me to go, dive off into new places. Note it's not 100% because you're just never going to get 100% across those three attributes. Whether it's 75 or 80 or 85%, you get my point. You get to a point and your learning curve starts to flatten out a little bit. It's time to go, find a cliff to jump off of, probably to take a metaphor too far.
I like that.
And
Thanks,
that,
Jody. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
sorry, I was just going to say, Jordy, my first year in operations was really scary because I was working. So when I got recruited over there by the guy who used to run it, I'm like, Dave, you realize I've never shipped a box in my life. I have no idea what I'm doing. He's like, I literally have 500,000 people who are really good at that. You bring other skills, come in, learn kind of how operations work, and you'll get to apply your other skills to the rest of our team. But it was painful because I went from a world where I was an expert devices into a world where I was a neophyte, and I felt like an idiot for a year. It was a pain, it's a painful process, but ultimately, of course, I think it was my wife who's like, let me get this right. So they're going to pay you to go learn logistics from literally the best people in the world. Sounds like an intelligence test. So I went back to school.
Interesting. That's great. Thanks, Christopher.
Good morning. Glad to have you here.
Morning.
So, I've been in material management and logistics for about almost 14 years now. And I know Amazon has an entire review and training process. Throughout those 14 years, I've done the various things like inspection, customer service, inventory, and warehouse management. Does that time in the military actually affect what the position you're trying to apply for? for Amazon?
Yeah. Um, often,
It does.
not always, of course, but often it will. You know, you get credit for your past. That's for sure.
Okay.
It depends a little bit on kind of which route you come through. If you come through sort of a job in the warehouses, you're going to start with a basic job in the warehouses. The good news is that because of your past experience, you might advance more quickly. You can come in through other routes as well, and you can get a leg up that way.
Okay. Because I know it's like sometimes you have all these years of experience, and some companies are like, well, that's all and good, but things are done differently here, and we're still not sure if you're the right fit.
Yeah,
Not sure if they will. They do a tried run with you first during the training program over at Amazon.
yeah, I think both things are true. Uh, it is true that Amazon's a wacky place, and there's a lot of new stuff to learn here, and so people just know that you might think you know how uh, operations work, but you probably don't know how operations work at Amazon. That's true. It's also true that like you get credit for your past experience. As I said a little bit earlier, we don't have to get you into the safety mindset. You already understand that.
Yes, sir.
That's good. Thanks, Chris. James, go ahead.
Good day, Mr. Larsen. My question, congratulations with it being day one of your sabbatical. And I guess this question would have been better suited for day seven. But what does your typical day look like for a VP at a large company like Amazon? I'm sure you have just certain traits that separate you from others.
Well, my day at this point is full of meetings, uh, basically, and so I try to be very intentional about what meet. So assuming that it's just a bunch of meetings, my day, I try to be really intentional about what meetings I do and why. So here are some examples of that. So I publish what I call an operating model, but you can call it, rhythm of the business, or there's a number of terms for it, and it's basically just a fancy term for uh, what meetings am I going to do with who for what objective at what cadence? And then I publish that out to my whole team. So everybody's completely aware of what Larsen is doing and why every day. And then those things then set the intent of what I want to spend my time on. And so here are some examples of that. So at least once a week, I make sure that I get in front of a customer. At least once a week, I make sure that I get in front of a set of employees that are one level removed from me. At least once a week, I focus on how I'm going to communicate to my broader team. And then at least once a week, I touch base with my direct reports. And then, there's just a never ending stream of stuff that fills in the gaps between those four things.
That's great. And then probably time for you with your supervisors as well, right?
Yeah, yes, although there's very little of that. There's an interesting thing as you get more senior, the job becomes pass
Leave it
fail.
alone. That's great.
And
Do you like
I
that?
meet with my boss for a half an hour once a month, and like that's it, unless I happen to need help.
That's great. That was a good one. Benjamin, go ahead.
How you doing, Peter?
Good.
Quick question. You mentioned that you've worked for multiple companies. How important was it, or how important, in your opinion, is it for internal mobility, for upward trends, or versus external moves?
Oh, yeah. Well, you're speaking to the poster child of internal mobility here. I've been at Amazon for 18 years. But honestly, I think like sometimes you do get stuck in a company. And I tell people all the time, everybody has a book on them, meaning everybody has a reputation that everybody else knows. And the only question is whether you, the individual, know what the book on you is or not. But for sure, there's a book on you. And sometimes, you can get a book written on you that is not quite accurate to the progress you've made, and it's hard to get out of that. And so that's when it's time to, go work at another company. We get a lot of boomerangs back to Amazon, and they do that to basically shift themselves out of whatever mode they were in before they left to come into a higher spot or to a better situation.
That's good. Thank you, Peng.
Hi, good morning, sir. Thanks for your time. I have a question about like there is a lot of happen in those year like COVID and a lot of like logistics and a lot of things happening. Like how you guys handle those?
Oh, it was insane. Um uh we well, I think first of all, it was a time you asked about COVID and things, right?
Yeah, it's like COVID and amazing. It's like moving from California to New York City, and then after that, like a lot of like the what's called right now it's a tariff and then a lot of
Yeah.
like
Well,
a
I mean,
politics and then like you guys working like daily to daily.
yeah. Well, let's see. Here's one way that we handle kind of extreme change. Maybe I can abstract your question to how does Amazon work within sort of an extreme change environment? Which it seems like we're always in, but COVID was particularly extreme change. We do a couple things. We have kind of three things we think about. One is we establish what we call tenets, which are uh, which are mental models that help teams make decisions in an area of conflict out of the line of sight of their managers. Let me try to give you an example of that. Usually, so here would be one example of that in operations. When you have to choose between, well, this is probably going to be too obvious. Here's one that's better. When you have to choose between um, getting a product out fast and getting a product out cheap, most of the time we pick fast. That's an example that our associates face almost every day. And Amazon's a place where we want to serve the customer, even if it's going to cost us more money. We just assume that's going to work out well for us. So that's a tenet. So we set these tenets so that everybody knows when they come into that decision, they have some help in how to make that decision without having to go talk to their manager. That's one thing. Second thing is we've got this concept of one-way versus two-way doors. And these are decisions. Uh, a one-way door decision is a decision that is very, very hard to take back. So, for example, if you set prices with customers, it's very hard to take that price back. So, if you give something away for free, it's almost impossible to start charging for it later on. That's an example of a one-way door. Uh, a two-way door is literally every other decision. And often teams can get wrapped around the axle by assuming that a decision is a one-way door decision when in fact it's a two-way door decision. And if it's a two-way door decision, we want you to go ahead and make the decision yourself, because if you screw it up, it's easily takeable, backable. Every once in a while, probably 1 out of 50 decisions is a one-way door decision, and in that case, I want you to call me.
Yeah, it's
Those are
good.
some ways that we kind of manage our way through extreme change, of course, because one of the risks of extreme change is everything slows down and every decision has to come to Larsen, and that's when things completely fall apart. So we work really hard to make sure things keep moving and that not everything has to come to, senior management like me.
Yeah. I have a question. So when you had the startup, right? When you launched your company and then got fired, right? And that must have felt like a punch in the gut, right? You here this is your baby, you get fired. You talk a little bit about how to get back up from setbacks like that and why that didn't keep you down.
Well, yeah, it was a gut punch. That's for sure. One of the first times I had faced like real significant setback in my professional life. So I was not good at it. I got some good stories about that. It's probably not the time here, but anyways, well, so here's what I did. So, I licked my wounds for a while. I was bitter for a while, angry for a while. And then I tried to go through a process, and this is natural with anybody where I identified what went wrong. And it's really important when you're doing that to have sort of an objective, trusted advisor to help you, because of course there are, multiple things that went wrong. Some of it is I got screwed by my company, but others is that I was in no way ready to do this job. And like you have to have enough objectivity to be able to look at both what you could have done better and what the company could have done better.
Yeah.
Once you have that set of things relatively clearly identified, then I went out and started looking for a job, and I began to use those things because, of course, the fear is that everyone's like, "Oh, this dude just got fired. He must be a loser." And it turned out that when people asked me about it, because I was able to clearly articulate what went wrong and what didn't go wrong, turned out that nobody cared a tiny bit that I got
They
fired.
probably liked that you were honest and vulnerable and telling them, hey, some of it was on me, some of it was on them. I like
I
that.
think so. Like
Yeah.
I don't, a lot of people get fired or a lot of people
Yeah.
get demoted,
Not to be ashamed of, right?
and it doesn't matter a tiny bit. The
Yeah.
only thing that matters is how you respond.
You got it, man. All right, two more quick questions. I want to be respectful of Pete's time. So, Nick, go ahead, bud.
Hey, good morning, Pete. Thank you for coming on. Just a quick question for you, because you kind of mentioned AI a little bit, and I'm kind of heavily in the space. So, what's your thoughts on over the next 5 to 10 years? What do you see the biggest opportunity and risk for Amazon as AI systems become more capable? Increasingly, like talking AGI, and now there's all this molt bot stuff out in the market and all those kinds of things. What do you see Amazon in the next 5 to 10 years with that, and how can we condition ourselves to be prepared for that as people going into the market space?
Well, let's see. Uh, how long do you got? Uh, let me try to break it down at least at a high level in a couple of ways. First of all, as you might imagine, I am a techno optimist. So I am not a believer that new technology is going to make things worse, and I'm not a believer that new technology is going to net decrease jobs. We have not ever seen that at any point across history. Um, it does change the makeup of jobs, but it does not decrease net jobs. So I don't think that's going to happen. AGI, I'm not exactly sure. That could go wrong, I guess, but I believe we're like a decade away from that. So that's I can hardly see past breakfast. So that's so far out in the future that I'm not going to worry about that, or I'm going to choose not to worry about things that I can't control. Anyways, Um, uh, and then what I would say just for you all is that you should be using AI tools today, right now. And that when you go into a job interview, you should have a point of view regarding how AI tools have helped you do a task inside of the last week. And it's like not hard to do. I use AI every day. Um, and but it's really important that you do a couple things. One is that you have to be seen as leaning into it, not avoiding it, because you will never get a job if you're avoiding it. And then two, you have to be seen as a learning organism in that, okay, there's this new thing. I have no idea what the hell it's about, but I'm going to dive in and get my hands dirty. And as you start using it, you'll start to have a point of view and you'll be able to talk about it, and that'll help you get a job.
Yeah, that's
Use
good.
it, use it every day.
Yep, great advice. When can we expect all of our packages to be delivered with drones? Is that inevitable or what?
Nah,
To be dropping them out
no,
of the
I don't
sky?
think so.
All right.
I think there are just physical impossibilities with drones in that you can't really get a drone or yeah, I think it's going to be I think it's going to be an interesting niche use case for a while. One of the big challenges is that where you really need drones, and you folks in the military probably know more about this than I do, but where you really need drones is where you don't have infrastructure. And if you don't have infrastructure, the distances traveled are probably long. And if the distances traveled are long, you got a battery issue with your drone. You got to have a drone that's large enough to have a large enough battery to go long distances. But then if you make a drone that large, there's no way that you're operating inside a city center. So those are the things that are going on right now in the drone world.
What if Bezos wants you to take a flight with him on Blue Origin?
Yeah. If Bezos wanted me, I'd do it. Yeah, sure. Yeah. If he's going to give it to me for free, hell yeah.
Pete, this was awesome, man. I so appreciate you taking some time and appreciate everything Amazon does. For those of you who don't know, Amazon employs, I think, about 50,000 military vets. So you won't find a more military-friendly company on the planet. So I know you're a part of that. So thank you so much for this and for sharing a little bit of your story and experiences and advice with these amazing men and women. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you very much for your service. It's been a lot of fun. Jordy, let's catch up.
You got it, buddy. Enjoy the skiing. Take
All
care.
right, man. See ya. Bye-bye.
You got it.